I think we have our sneaker of the year. What's up, sneaker people? It's your boy FB Kicks in Gear, and welcome to today's video. As you can see, we have the very long awaited Jordan 4 Black Cement Reimagined, Jordan 4 Bred. Whatever you call these shoes is really indicative of when you came up in sneakers. Back when I was coming up, these were always the Black Cements, and now they're the Breds for black and red. So I understand it, but I'm going to use the lingo that I came up with. So yeah, thank you for all of my loyal subscribers for kind of keeping up with me over these past couple of months. I know I have been really slowing down my output when it comes to videos. It's not that I haven't been filming, it's just that I have had almost no time to edit the videos that I have filmed. So luckily I have enough that I can kind of trickle through, but I am going to be releasing more content faster and on a more regular basis. So please continue to stop by my channel. I see now that I'm at 2.33k subscribers, and I can't tell you guys how happy I am to bring you guys along through this ride with me. I'm keeping this channel open. I think this might be the longest channel I've had active on YouTube so far, as far as one that I have been posting on regularly. So I appreciate that, guys. With all the thanks out there, we're really gonna get into the nitty-gritty of this video and do this real versus fake comparison, because these shoes are absolutely beautiful and there are a lot of replica controversy surrounding this shoe. Some of it because there's genuine concern, others is because there isn't enough education out there. But education is the reason why this channel exists, so that's what we're gonna do. And before I actually get into the real versus fake comparison, I want to shout out my boy, my moderator on the Discord. He sent me this replica pair that he had, and it's because of him that I'm able to do this real versus fake comparison. So I'm going to actually ask him when he sees this video to drop the batch information if he has it, and wherever they can find better pictures and more pictures of this shoe, so that y'all can dig in and familiarize yourself with the details, especially the stuff that I don't really go into on the video. I'm putting you on the spot, but I'll let you drop that information in the comments so people can follow that rabbit hole. With that said, let's get into this. And just like in every video, we are going to start with the box, because that's usually your first line of defense. So let's do it. So as you can see, the box for this shoe is a black bottom with a cement pattern print on the top. You got your infrared fire red Jumpman with a flight, and you've got, you know, your cement speckles all the way throughout. And without spending too much time on the box itself, I can tell you immediately there are some things that stand out to me. I know you guys are being drawn to the size tags here, but unfortunately, since they are different kinds of size tags, this is an overseas size tag. This is the size tag that comes out with American pairs. Unfortunately, I can't do a one-to-one comparison, but if you guys have a size tag that looks like this from any of your other authentic pairs, feel free to take a snapshot so you can compare. But outside of the size tag, I think the biggest thing that I can notice for sure is that the colors of the cement print is different. You can see on the authentic pair, let's do it side by side so maybe it's a little bit easier. You can see that the authentic box is darker with a more cool gray tone to it, while the rep is lighter with a warmer gray. You can also see that the darkness and the vibrance of the fire red infrared Nike Air is brighter on the rep than it is on the authentic. It's definitely a little bit darker on the authentic, and that extends to the Jumpman as well. Top to bottom, you guys can see the authentic is on the top. So there are some pretty run-of-the-mill decent differences that you can see on the box. This is the kind of stuff that we expect when it comes to replicas, which is why I like to look at the box. They never put that much emphasis on getting the boxes 100% correct. So it is what it is, and thankfully that is usually your first line of defense when it comes to identifying a fake pair. So from there, there's nothing really to talk about in the box. I don't really feel like going into the paper, so I won't. Everything else is standard. So let's skip past this box part and let's get the shoes together. So here we have our first side by side of the Authentic and the Rep pair here on the right. And one of the things that I can say right off the bat is you definitely have your typical mid to high tier replica stuff going on right here. Overall, the overall appearance, they look practically identical, right? If you are somebody who were to see somebody walking by with these on feet, you would not be able to tell that they are replica. But thankfully for us, that's not the bar that we set when it comes to doing these legit checks. We care about the details. We care about the materials. We care about accuracy, right? Not necessarily quality, although quality is an aspect that comes into this. We care about accuracy. And there are things that I can see just right here in front of me that tell me that these are just a little bit off. And I think the best place to start pointing out what those differences are is to start looking at the materials and the things that compose the shoe. Because when you put them side by side, right up against each other, like I mentioned early in the video, overall, they look exactly the same. But when you zoom in up close and personal, you can see that the materials aren't one for one exactly the same. You can see that the leather itself, while the Rep definitely mimics the Authentic leather, it is definitely not the same cut of material or the same kind of black leather. When you look at these toe boxes and you look at the raw edges of the material, you can see that the leather that this Authentic pair is, when you look at the edges, it looks dried. It looks like the dye itself hasn't penetrated all the way, if that makes sense. Almost gives the leather a raw edge effect to it. And I know JB likes to do that to simulate quality. But when you look at the Rep, the leather is pretty much black all the way through. You don't see that green tint that comes with indications of a dyed leather. And the leather also just looks different. The pebbling pattern is completely different. And that's not a huge thing because tumbled leather tumbles differently when it's made and when it's worn, when that imprint is pressed onto it. But the tumbled leather is it's just a different kind of leather. They don't feel the same. The Authentic pair definitely feels a lot softer, although this is on the softer side for Reps that I have seen. But you can see that the leather itself is just different, to the point where I would even say the color black on the Rep is a tad bit darker and deeper than the color black on the Authentic pair, if that makes sense. And that color difference extends its way up to the netting as well. You can see that the netting on the Rep and the back mesh is just darker than on the Authentic pair. It's a really hard thing to see, but definitely noticing a difference. And you would think that mimicking the die cuts and everything like that would be the harder part, but no, it's always the color. And when you put them side by side so you can actually see more of the accents, you can see that the grays are a different color as well. You can see that the reds are a different color on the toe box. Authentic pair here on the left, Rep on the right. The red is just a tad bit more vibrant on the Authentic, and it's a little bit darker on the Rep. And when you turn them over, you can even see that even more. This is just something that Reps struggle with. The overall appearance is always, spot on, but when you zoom in with a retail pair next to it, that's when you start to see those differences shine through. And that's what we have here. When you look at the back, you can see that the grays are a little bit different. Again, you can also see a little bit difference in the spacing between the Nike Air on the Rep compared to the Authentic pair. And you can also see how much more prominent the little waffle tabs here are on the Rep than they are on the Authentic pair. They feel pretty similar. I'll say that the Rep definitely feels thicker and harder of a plastic, and the Authentic is definitely a little bit more flexible. But most importantly, you see how prominent those waffle tabs are compared to the Authentic. And those themes pretty much follow throughout the entire shoe. You can see the sock liners are a different color. It's a cooler gray on the rep pair, and it's a light warmer gray for that sock liner. And those color tone differences also show up on the back of the tongue as well. You can see the difference in reds. Definitely more of a lighter fire red on the authentic and more of a varsity deeper red on the rep. I will say though, while most reps definitely get the wings tab, especially the gray of the wings tab, off compared to the authentic pair, these are definitely the closest that I've seen so far. Definitely still off. The grays are a little bit lighter here on the tab than on the authentic, which is a little bit darker of a gray, but still pretty close. But honestly, that's what it comes down to. It's really, these reps are just mimicking the authentic pair, and they're doing so with different materials, with slightly different colors, slightly different shapes, but getting them side by side, it really is just a replica, right? And that's not me clowning, reps or whatever. That's just me telling the truth. They are just replicas, and those differences do make themselves apparent. So with all that said, let's move on to the blacklight test so that we can see if there's anything further that we can use to legit check these shoes. So the first thing I like to do is take my black light and shine it around the shoe to see if I can find anything that stands out and that's super reactive. Upon quick glance, the first thing that I'm seeing is the air bubble definitely lights up on both sides. And then my eye was drawn to the flight on the tongue tag, very reactive. Nothing else really standing out. No real reactivity out of the red on the outsole. We are getting some reactivity out of the Air Jordan tag on the back of the tongue, which is pretty typical of Jordan 4s. Outside of that, nothing else is really lighting up. You got the size sticker on there. Outside of that, it's a pretty dead shoe in terms of reactivity. So let's go take the rep and see what we can find. So you're definitely getting some reactivity out of that air bubble, but not a ton. Definitely not as much as the authentic pair. The authentic pair was very bright white. This is really not being that reactive. We do have the reactivity of the flight on the tongue tag for the rep. And let's see, we are getting reactivity out of the tongue tag on the back of the tongue. So that is correct. Anything else? Interestingly enough, we are getting some reactivity out of the red on the bottom of the outsole. So if we compare the two here, notice no reactivity out of the outsole on the authentic pair, but compared to the rep, see how differently they react? Very interesting. When it comes to the colors and those slight color differences that you see when going from the authentic to the rep, a lot of those color differences translate into differences when it comes to the blacklight test. So we can see that everything else is spot on when it comes to the blacklight test, but the red on the outsole glows in a way that the authentic pair just does not. So that is a good legit checking indicator. So let's get the lights back on and close the video. So guys, that pretty much wraps up the video. We have seen a number of differences in terms of construction and materials and even colors when it comes to the real versus the rep pair. We've also seen that under UV light, under a black light, we're getting some different reactivity out of the red part of the outsole compared to the authentic pair, and that can definitely be used for legit checking in addition to the things that we pointed out on the box. So if you're going to ask me, are these shoes safe to be bought on the secondary market? Should you be too worried about getting scammed by fakes? No. And as long as you're doing your research and your due diligence and you are putting in the work to make sure the pairs that you have are authentic, you will be able to identify it. The best thing that you can do is get a hold of an authentic pair, whether it is at a resale shop or a friend or whatever, and use that as your guide. Bring in the pair that you might be questioning whether or not it's authentic, and get it next to an authentic pair. Get a black light, compare those boxes, and you will be able to legit check. And just like that, remember, you can find even more pictures of this shoe on the Instagram account that's going to pop up on the screen. Remember, guys, doing your research is the foundation of being able to legit check. If you don't know what you're looking for, you are wasting your time and you're just going to get scammed. So with that said, guys, I'll wrap up the video. I have a lot more coming. I have more retail shoes coming, more military blues, more trophy room 1 lows, and I'm also working on the Travis Scott Jumpman. So with that said, guys, I will see you in the next one. Peace.